Welcome to DC to B Revolution, where we think big to live large. I'm your host, Noah Volz, and today we're talking to Dr. Ryan Lawlor. He's an upper cervical chiropractor in San Francisco. I believe you practice Blair Chiropractic, and you've just got a really unique approach, and you've been able to be really successful with that approach. So I wanted to talk to you a little bit about everything you do. So thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Yeah, my pleasure. So because you're an upper cervical doctor, I wonder if you had any suggestions for chiropractors, chiropractic students on how to build and grow an upper cervical practice.
Yeah, that's a common question and kind of reoccurring answer I keep giving. That's kind of, I mean, I guess it's a little bit different, but the idea is don't freak out at your student loans. I think the number one advice I try to give folks is don't focus too much on trying to earn money, because people feel that. And if you just provide solid care and just really appreciate why they have made it into your office. I mean, you got to think, if they make it into an upper cervical doc's office, they have pretty much tried everything. You are the last stop on BART. And if you can be aware of that and be conscientious of that and just provide care, then that will grow your business faster than any marketing or any health fair or anything like that.
When you say that students kind of get in that trap of really focusing on the debt and really trying to make make as much money as fast, what are the common kind of pitfalls that they fall into after graduating?
That's a big question. So I see a lot of folks try to come out of school and either get an internship or become an associate doc somewhere, or try to get in somewhere where they're trying to learn the trade or learn things. And me personally, I don't think that's the best avenue. I mean, what was good for me is not good for everybody, and vice versa. But I think trying to be somebody or be like somebody else just isn't really a great avenue ever, right? It's like, be yourself and stay true to who you are and really identify who you are, right? That's a big one by itself. And then just go all in and just do it. Don't try to follow someone else's path. Just, do you. There's a reason why you ended up at school and you found what you found, and you picked a technique that you adopted. It picked you, and you got to just roll with it.
Yeah, it seems like there are so many students who come to chiropractic school, want to be entrepreneurs, want to open their own business. Then the student debt starts mounting on them. And then it's like, oh, well, maybe I should go associate, or maybe I should do this, or maybe I should do that. And that clarity of the why that they entered school with starts to get diluted a little bit. And so it sounds like you're saying, stick to your why, stick to your guns, be authentic and do what it is that you came to do in terms of chiropractic. And that's deliver value and really help people get well.
That's right.
Awesome. So you are great about educating your patients. It seems to me that you've got community health talks and you've got a great blog. So why have you focused on the specific conditions or health talks that you tend to focus on in those educational events?
Totally. This is an embarrassing way to answer this. Probably it's totally random. Those happen to be, I think you're specifically referring to migraines, TMJ, and trigeminal neuralgia. And those happen to be, in that order, the three large groups of people that just kind of embraced what I was doing. And it just seemed like I was seeing an overwhelming number of patients that had those. So I just kind of directed my marketing toward that. I mean, I don't do a ton of marketing whatsoever, but it seems like those were the groups that were hearing what I was saying. So being able to adapt to kind of what you're trying to do and focus more so on what's working is kind of what my goal was. I used to suffer from migraines, so it was really easy to talk to people who had migraines. And migraine people are ones that will bust you out in a second for knowing that you don't know the difference between a migraine or a headache, or will know that you don't or have never had a migraine. When you have had migraines, you know when other people know what you've experienced, and there's a real bond there. And it was really easy for me to identify and empathize with the migraine sufferers. And that kind of evolved into its own little mini practice by itself. And then I was just very lucky and very fortunate to kind of fall into the dental world. And I came across very few cases in the beginning of TMJ that ended up being successful cases. And the referring dentists started talking, and then I was able to start educating other dentists. So I was able to go into a group of other dentists that were doing their CE, and they got 2 hours of CE for listening to me talk about upper cervical, which was a total fortunate opportunity for me. And then that kind of led to its own TMJ focus. And then the trigeminal neuralgia by itself was just very coincidental. It just, I think the Blair Society had published something on trigeminal neuralgia, and it just took off. And so I started seeing a bunch of those patients. So I just stood with that and tried to kind of focus. And instead of having a net that's too big, I just kind of stuck to the 3 that were coming in, and that seemed to serve me.
Yeah, and I love how you were agile enough to recognize, who was coming your way, who was getting the results from the valuable care that you were providing, and then just work with that instead of trying to create your own niche out of thin air. You allowed a niche to kind of form, and then just put some energy into that in order to develop that target market, so to speak. So, well done.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. I noticed that you do a fair amount of volunteering. You work with Project Open Hand, you've worked with San Quentin State Prison, and you've even been in El Salvador and received recognition there. Can you tell maybe a story from one of your experiences with all that volunteering?
Sure. So all 3 of those were, again, I'm just a very fortunate person, and I'm open to opportunity. I think that's kind of a key. All 3 of those situations were not by any of my doing. I was very fortunate to be in positions where somebody was already in charge of some type of event or activity, or I don't know, community outreach in those particular incidences, and I just got to be involved. The Project Open Hand, my wife was she ran a couple of half marathons here in San Francisco, and I really fell in love with the Project Open Hand idea. I love their theme, that food is medicine, and it's a great cause. I love it. And so I just started to volunteer there in the beginning, just because my wife was running in the marathon that they promoted, which was with the Giants, and I'm a big Giants fan. So it just was a kind of perfectly set up thing. And then we met some really great people that were involved in that. They're not there any longer, and I haven't really been so outreaching myself toward that, but I should probably get back on that, truthfully. Against San Quentin was another very fortunate thing for me. Dr. Jana, who I think she passed the torch. I know she passed the torch off to Ian Tremaine, who spearheads the San Quentin event every year, and Sean Dill, who was doing the El Salvador thing. All those are products of their work, not mine. And I just was lucky enough to kind of fall into it. I guess you're asking for a particular story for each or something. I tell this story a bunch. You would think I would tell it better, but there was 1 year we went to San Quentin, and it was I wanted to say it was the first year I was there. And my group, the way you entered the building is very scary, right? And I mean, you're going into a state prison, and there's a big sign that says, if you get held hostage, we're not helping you. And you got to sign a piece of paper. And my group was the last group to enter. So it was Dr. Kalsa and I. and he's a big guy and I'm not. And we started walking down, and we were the only two walking down this little path with this little old lady who was walking us in. And you know, your first moments on the yard are freaky, right? It's like you're seeing these big, giant, scary looking guys who you have this reputation that you've already kind of built in your head, and they're there all day, and you could just tell that they're in very segregated groups, and they're kind of scary looking. It's not fun looking. And as the day progressed, we got into our rhythm, and we got into a little room, and we were adjusting, and it was fun, right? Energy was high. People were in line. The line never stopped. We adjusted hundreds of inmates, and it was an exciting time. And as the end of the day got close, the security guard came down to escort us back up, and the walk back he wanted to do in one group. So as we were waiting with the security guard, we kind of slowly just kind of waited in this one section, and the guard was just still very focused on his job, and we're trying to talk to him, and he's half paying attention to his job and half paying attention to us, which I appreciate now. And at the time I was like, hey, I'm right here, but he has a job and he's protecting us. And I said, what's it like to be a guard here? Is this crazy or what? And his answer was so humbling to me, because it really was powerful to chiropractic in general. But he said, you see how these people are acting today? And he goes, you see how these groups are getting along? He's like, it's never like this. It's only on the day that the chiropractors come. And when he said that, it just, especially when you're very chiropractically focused or chiropractically minded, like everything's about chiropractic in your world. When he said that, I was thinking to myself, like, wow, we just made this real harmony, like that was just across the whole yard that day. And what if everybody on the planet got adjusted on the same day? How awesome would that be? And for him to acknowledge that was powerful to me. And I was really thankful to have heard it firsthand from him. And I mean, I tell that story a bunch because it's like somebody else recognized how when the nervous system, I mean, he didn't say it like this, but when the nervous systems are balanced and people are relaxed, they're not aggressive. That yard was different when we left, and that was a job well done. I was proud of that day.
Yeah, well done. I mean, that really is the ultimate goal in my mind of chiropractic, right? Is the little things that we do day to day with one individual, being fully present with that person, and then allowing that ripple effect to spread into their closest relationships, into their job, into all the places that they go, and they take that with them. And that harmony is so powerful. I know that you've done a really good job creating a very harmonious experience in your office as well, that really facilitates people's full expression of life and well-being. Can you talk a little bit about the experience that you try to facilitate in your office?
We try, so from the moment you walk in, I try to be very mindful of the fact that people are here looking for help, right? And like I kind of alluded to or said earlier, if they make it to your office, by the time they've reached your office, they have tried a bunch of stuff, and you have to be aware of that. And we have a tendency as chiropractors to be very confident in what we do, and arguably right, rightfully, but we should be very mindful of the fact that we're not mainstream and we are different. And when a person comes in, you want to let them know that you're the doc, and you're the doc that cares the most and will listen the most. And listening to them, letting someone talk for the first 3 minutes. I've heard all sorts of opinions on this, and I have my own, of course, as everyone does, but I think it's important to let someone just talk. Let them tell you why they're there and what they're looking for. And you can learn so much by just listening. And when they're ready to, listen, which is usually after 3 to 4 minutes, I ask them, why did they end up in my office? Like, why are you here? And they usually will give me a great indication on where they're at as far as knowing about the expression of life. And I'll get an understanding on where they're at. And that is invaluable. And then from that point forward, I have this same kind of, I don't want to call it a script, but it is relatively a loose script. And I give them the big idea, and I tell them, you know, the body is this constantly adapting organism, and its own meaning of life is just to adapt to its internal and external environment, period. And everything you sense, everything you touch, smell, taste, feel, and hear has direct neurological input. And how well your body's able to interpret that is your meaning of life, and how well you're able to process that, because that regulates all of the systems in the body. How well that works is my business, and not your back pain. And within 5 minutes, people have heard it and they get it, and they're listening because they were able to get that out. They're listening. And that's just in the consultation. I know we've kind of nailed it in the consultation, so everything on top of that's kind of built on that.
Yeah, brilliant. Brilliant that you can that you first like take the time to really listen to them. You know, like you said, maybe you're the last stop on the BART. And so how many people previously actually really listened deeply to what they're asking for, and were able to meet them you know, with a possible solution, or with an answer that showed them the bigger picture, and how not only could this particular symptom that they're concerned about resolve, but also, you know, how their overall health and well-being can be facilitated through the process of chiropractic. So well done.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. So this has been great. Really appreciate your humility. Really appreciate just your insight and your thoroughness in expressing chiropractic. So I'm sure other students, other chiropractors are curious to learn more about you. Where can people get in touch with you? Do you have a website, or what is that? What is your website? Where is the best place for people to reach out to you?
You could go to the website. I guess that's the easiest. You could either go to uppercervicalsf.com, or you could go to drlawlor.com. I stopped really using the Dr. Lawlor. It's on there. You could totally find me, but that's not a great idea, because people spell your name wrong. Unless your name is Dr. Smith, it's probably not the best domain, right? But I mean, it's worth having your name, of course. But you know, uppercervicalsf.com. My contact information is on there. If you're a student at Life West, I'm always available to chat when I can. And if you're an upper cervical doc, I probably shouldn't say this. I probably give you a little more preference to try to get you to be available, or myself to be available, or for you to come in. I get a lot of requests for students to come in, and I'm not always available, and my office isn't very big. I'm in downtown San Francisco at Union Square, so we're tiny here, but we're pumping. So.
Well done. Thank you. So this has been a production of DC to Be Revolution, where we think big to live large. Yeah, so grateful for the opportunity to share with students stories of successful doctors out in the field, helping students develop the mindset that's going to make them create the practice of their dreams, and really, you know, provide their authentic offering to the world. So if you're inspired by this, please consider subscribing to the channel, liking this video, or leave a comment below. And thanks once again, Dr. Lawlor, for being here.
Thank you much. Appreciate you having me.